My name is Sari Wilenius. I work for Finnish Parliament in the ICT office as a designer. Last few years, I have been developing various intra and internet solutions, as one of them is digital workspaces for MPs. Now, when we have the presentation virtually, what I want to do is to show you how we have solved in Finland the digital workspaces of the MPs in committees. I'm glad if you can take a moment with me today. But let's move on to the presentation. I would like to tell you first about the structure of our committee workspaces. After that, I will discuss about what information does workspaces contain, what is relevant to our MPs. Then I will explain briefly how workspaces get information content. The fourth topic is how does mobile access work? Mobility is essential to nowadays to MPs. The last two topics are what problems have there been in the development and use of workspaces, and what are the key drivers for digital work reform. The digital workspaces of MPs in committees were introduced for the first time in 2015. The platform was and still is Microsoft SharePoint. All the workspaces of the committees follow the same structure to ease the MPs' works. It is important that the structure is similar as many MPs work in several different committees. We may now wish to take a closer look at the structure of the committee workspaces. As you can see, there are white and blue boxes around the workspace image. Blue boxes describe the content imported automatically from back-office systems. White boxes tell what information we need to save manually or before other operations. If we start from right, we see that the part is containing a link, what leads to the automatically created page on committee members and deputies. The next area below has manually updated committee officials as well as links to relevant content, notes to the committee chair, some relevant RSS feeds, and information on key legislative projects and other current topics. An automatic list of the latest committee minutes, reports, and statements. Above that, listing the older committee reports and statements in case they are needed. Then information on recently published committee reports and statements and on EU affairs. This is only for committee officials, as they are often part of a specific work chain, such as translations in need or something similar. Then in the next part, members will be provided with up-to-date information, what is happening in committee, and links to committee officials so that they can order access to the workspace for an MP's assistant or order additional equipment for members for their meetings abroad. Last but not least, perhaps the most important part of the committee workspace, in fact, the section describes the committee's working process and all necessary documents. Here you can see what information workspaces contain. On the menu, we can find expert statements, other documents that will be saved manually, the agenda of committee on formal meetings and informal remote meetings, the weekly schedule or schedule of the meetings and their topics, the detailed meeting schedule and pending matters. The content of the menu are almost the same as dark blue bricks, as we call them, but because the bricks are very liked, so they have to stay there. Let's look at the documents themselves, why we find them convenient. On the left, the committee's agenda contains all the items to be discussed at the meeting and all documents related to pending matters, as well as active links to the document itself. Everything is actually just a few clicks away, and you can stay up to date on what will be covered in the meeting. On the right, committee's weekly schedule shows which days are scheduled for meetings, what topics and which experts will give their statements, and links to existing documents if they are any already existing. We'll continue with a couple of content before we move on to discuss how workspaces get information. Here on the left, the committee's meeting schedule shows a plan for the entire spring or fall sessions. On the right, we see all the pending cases during the whole parliamentary term, as well as the related documents and how many documents there are in each case. But there is one problem, as you can see. How clearly the code, for example, 048/2019 VP tells you the matter. It doesn't tell you that, does it? We will come to this in more detail later. How all this we just saw come into the workspaces. Below we have three main systems, like committee's case and document management system, that enter data and documents into the workspaces. The other two systems, like the MP's personal and parliamentary information system and plenary system, enter information to the intranet and allow MPs to make digital reservation to speak in the plenary and ensure that their speeches are properly documented. These functions are separate from workspaces, but part of our MP's digital services. All this also works on mobile device, and I'll show you next how. We have tried to create as easy access to the workspace as possible. First, the MP selects the F5 Access application on the device. Then he or she clicks the Connect button and waits for a few seconds to connect to the secure tunnel. The last step is to choose the committee of which the MP is a member. Actually, other committee workspaces for the member are not available. and access is only also available on Parliament's own devices. Now we have left 2 points. I thought to highlight some of the challenges we had in developing and using workspaces, because we are all dealing with the same topics. In the last topic, I will tell you what we noticed are the key factors in digital work reform. But let's see the development challenges first. It was a challenge to create the workspace version that will work with all the 17 committees, because they all slightly work differently from each other. The first version of the committee's digital workspace was introduced in 2015. Shortly afterwards, we realized that MPs only wanted to work with mobile devices. The second fully mobile version was launched 2019. Then we heard about EU-level accessibility requirements, which came into force 2020. We all know also that in 2020 came COVID-19, and that brought to committees the need for an informal remote meeting. It has been definitely a long run. And then I'll go to the challenges of using workspaces. The MPs would want to edit documents in the PDF format and save it easily with their phone. So far, most of the MPs feel that the process is way too complicated. As I mentioned earlier, when we look at the pending matters, that the names of the documents do not describe the content. I mean, for example, the document name is Expert Statement for ADK 2021 AK 345903, when it should be Expert Statement for Finland's Sustainable Growth Programme. The naming is done only for the needs of the master system, not for the presentation layer. But this is now finally corrected in early March 2021. As being said, the last topic I will fill you in is the key factors in digital work reform. We have noticed that we should be reaching an environment where MPs are able to work with a consistent experience across devices, location, and time. Mobility, security, and user friendliness are factors that we should keep in mind when we are creating digital services. Would you agree? Thank you for the opportunity being able to tell you about our digital workspace solution.